Hello, everyone. My name is Josh, and this is the Teams Recap. The Teams Recap, if you are not familiar with the show, is a weekly-ish, 15-minute-ish show dedicated towards everything that is new in the Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams world. This week, we actually kind of skipped a week. Last week was busy, not as many announcements. It's December, things happen like that. So here we are a couple weeks later from the last episode, and we do have quite a list of topics to work through today. So, without too much fluff ahead of time, let's dive straight into that list. Go over to my browser. Here we are. Okay, perfect. Our first three tabs, as you can see up top, are actually all in the Microsoft Tech community. So, which if you're not already registered and a member of the tech community, go out to techcommunity.microsoft.com. Get registered, participate in the forums, stay plugged into all these latest blog posts. This is the place you want to be if you're looking for the latest on announcements. The product teams have been making all of their latest announcements through these blog posts as new features and products come seeping out into the wild world there. So, at any rate, our first post, authored by Charmaine Lee over at Microsoft, put out yesterday, actually, and the Skype for Business Mac client got an update, the December update. They've been hitting approximately monthly releases here, and as you can see, the new version that is out is 16.13.184, and this was a pretty big update in terms of new functionality that came through. We're not just talking bug fixes and performance improvements and things like that. We're talking some actually really big additions to features and functionality. So, first off, and probably at the top of the list for a reason, as far as impact goes, the status or your presence within the Mac client can now be taken directly from the Outlook calendar. That's really big, just like on the Windows side of things. Like it says here, Skype for Business on Mac will automatically update your status to indicate when you are in a meeting or busy based on your Outlook calendar. You can turn this off if you want by clearing the Update My Status Based on My Calendar information, which is in the general page of your Preferences dialog box. So that's a big item. Having that integration between the Outlook calendar on a Mac and the Skype for Business client, we're glad to see that finally there. All right, managing people in your meetings and calls. That's a pretty big capability if you're looking for more granular control over participants in a meeting. Know when you're offline. See your missed IM messages. Which some of these things, I'm not a big Mac guy. I don't hang out in the Mac client too often. And so I'm not aware of exactly all these little things that nag at people day in and day out. It looks like there's quite a list here of improvements. So this is good to see. Automatically close the window when you hang up a call. I love that, actually. I wish that would, yeah, that just seems so intuitive to me. Monitor the quality of your audio and video calls, and then a whole list of improvements, which if you've been, haggling with certain little annoyances or bugs or things like that, you might want to take a look at this list of improvements. I'm going to go ahead and let you read over this on your own. I'll include the link to this post, just like with all of the content I'm presenting. I'm going to include that link in the YouTube video description. So if you're watching this on YouTube, look below at the video description and you will find a link to all this content. All right, next up, new usage reports for Microsoft Teams. And Microsoft did a great job on this post, really calling out what the different reports are, et cetera, et cetera. Let's go down and take a look at what these new usage reports are, what they look like. Again, two new usage reports. The first one, Microsoft Teams user activity. Here's a good graphic of what this looks like. All right. Take a look there. Looks very similar if you're used to looking at usage reports for your other applications within Office 365. Now, it gives you a view of the most common activities that your users perform in Microsoft Teams, including how many people engage in a chat within a channel, how many communicate via private chat messages, and how many participate in calls or meetings. You can see the information both at the tenant level as well as for an individual user, which is pretty cool. So we can see this right here, username, not really the most friendly username there, but we look at how this is broken down, channel messages, chat messages, calls, meetings, We get the date of these activities. So the whole idea here is that you're going to be able to track how your users are actually consuming and using Teams. And this will in turn help you guide which areas to focus on in your end user adoption strategy. If you're maybe having a hard time getting Teams out there and well adopted within your org, but it is definitely the path forward for your org, having these usage reports will tell you and senior management where users are having an easier time adopting and where they're slower to adopt, and it will let you concentrate your training efforts accordingly. So very cool to see these reports. The second one, Microsoft Teams app usage. This provides you with information about how your users connect to Microsoft Teams, including your mobile apps. She says here the report helps admins understand what devices are popular in their organization and how many users work on the go. I love this little breakdown. This is really handy for knowing which types of devices are running in your environment here. We got this broken down by Windows, vast majority for this organization, some Mac users, web users, iOS users, an Android phone, and Windows phone. I didn't mean to laugh there. That's not very nice. But as you can see, it's broken down 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, web, iOS, Android. Very, very cool. We've included the usage data from the Microsoft Teams in the At a Glance widget in the usage reporting dashboard, which gives you that cross-product view that we see right here. We see the same graph as above for active users, except instead of looking at Teams, we're looking at Office 365 as a whole, Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Skype for Business, Yammer, and now Microsoft Teams. So we get a very good idea of how each of these tools are being used and the ebbs and flows that come with it. Excuse me. She says, in addition, you're going to find a new card from Microsoft Teams at the bottom of the dashboard. The title gives you an overview of the activity in Teams, including the number of users, of active users. Clearly, there's a lot of active users in Microsoft Teams at Microsoft, 216,000 there. But this is a really good thing to see. Now, how do you access these reports if you're not already familiar with looking at usage reporting? There's a link right here she provides. When you're in the admin center, you will go down to the reports and usage. When you go to reports and usage, you can look into the active users card right up top here and start managing all that good stuff. Who has access to these reports? Very good question. I'm not going to go into these details, but if you're looking to how you can extend the reach of these reports to key people within your org, take a look at the link in the YouTube video description, read through this thing in its entirety, and see how you can best leverage these reports in your organization. All right, next article. Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection for SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams is now available. That last part is key to this show. You were probably wondering for a minute there, why are we talking about advanced threat protection for SharePoint and OneDrive and Microsoft Teams? The more you learn about the architecture involved with Microsoft Teams, the more you realize these are all interconnected on a very deep level. So the key points here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but if we go on down, they give a little bit of a history on advanced threat protection, how it's used, etc. Then they say, in our continued effort to address the modern threat landscape, today, which is on Tuesday, we are announcing general availability of Office 365 Advanced Threat Protection for SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. It uses signals and smart heuristics as quality indicators to identify these files within your tenant that may contain malicious content, which includes correlating the file activity signals from SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams within your tenant with a Microsoft Security Intelligence Graph threat feeds. Now, there is a bit more to read on this. This is not exactly the area where I shine the brightest, so I'm not going to I'm just going to be reading this word for word and not giving a whole lot of context. So I really invite you to read this for yourself. Go to the link, check this out. Look at how you can get started with advanced threat protection. There's a link to that right here, providing much more detail, a couple more resources, and then some good frequently asked questions at the bottom. For those of you where security is your main focus and having a better security posture for all of Office 365 has been one of those nagging issues, as you have to answer for security, but your org is pushing to the cloud. This is a big step in the right direction, and you're going to want to know everything you can about this topic. So check that out. Next up, on November 21st, a couple weeks back here, right pretty much once I released my last video, I didn't get to cover this, but Attendant Pro from Landis Technologies has their Q4 2017 update. Some big items they include in the title here: IM Consult Transfer, Microsoft Teams user interface, call history, calendars, and configure contacts, and more. Matt put together a great, assuming Matt authored this. This could be somebody else at Landis, but they gave a really good breakdown here. First off, they give the summary of what all is included in this update. We have a good bullet point list here. One-click automatic instant messaging consult transfer, aka private call park for Office 365. So if you remember the Microsoft Teams roadmap, call park is not coming for quite some time to Teams, and so or Skype for Business Online at all for that matter. So it's very good to see that there is some sort of interim solution coming through a third-party tool here. The Microsoft Teams Attendant Console user experience that was demoed and talked about at Ignite. Advanced call history, a few different features there. I want you to notice, I'm not going to read through all of these. There's a lot of good detail, and if you're an Attendant Pro user or customer, this is for you to dig into and look at in a lot more detail. But you'll notice each one of these features, for these top ones anyway, they've all got links. They're all linked to other posts. So this gives you an idea of not just the fact that they're available, but go read more about them, how to use them, how it impacts you. Check out these other posts. And on top of that, we've got, you know what, I didn't even do my due diligence and click on them. I wonder if they actually go down. Yes, they don't go to other posts. They click to the relevant portions within this blog post. So good blogging. It was good blogging skills and poor research on my part. Click on those links, scroll down, and you will see where the more details about how each of these different features are going to be used and what they look like within the interface. We've got a little walkthrough of one-click automatic IM consult transfer here. We go on down to private call park for Office 365 Cloud PBX, aka phone system. Here we got the Microsoft Teams Attendant Console user experience. A lot of good information and good updates in here for Attendant Pro customers, and I would strongly invite you to check out the link here to read through all this in greater detail. I don't, unfortunately, have the time to cover it in that much detail on the show, but Q4 update, a lot of big things. Go check that out for Attendant Pro. Okay, this is really cool. I saw this on LinkedIn and shared it around a couple days ago. Matt Wade over at Office 365 at Microsoft published this LinkedIn article on December 5th, introducing the dynamic periodic table of Office 365. Now, I know a couple other periodic tables have been put out there. Like he says, they launched the periodic table of Office 365 back in May 2017. Intro to Office 365 graphics, a couple other things. It gives them really good history and a good intro leading into what this is and how to use it and all that good stuff. Again, this is something I would invite you to go and read for all that feedback. I want to go down to this link right here. We click on that, and it takes us here. This is slick. I don't know how else to say it. This is super cool. All right. Just take a minute to look through this. I'm not going to keep the show dragging on for this, but I'm going to provide the link to this, and I really want you all to go and check this out. This is not only a good graphic for those of us trying to understand all the intricacies of how these various tools and applications within Office 365 work together. It breaks them down by topic and category, shows these little relationship bars, how they interact with each other. And this is an amazing guide for customers to dig into, to understand how they can best use Office 365, how they can meet the needs of various requirements that they've got, how these tools they've heard about, they're interested in, but how am I really going to use that? This digs into all that. Now, there's a key on the side. You can put this in several different languages here. You give some credits, an embed code if you want to include this elsewhere. So really cool. But now let's go and click on it. Let's click on Teams, for example. We get this pop-up. We get a good overview on what Teams is. Okay, this is great for just telling us what it is and what it does. And then all of these links to learning more about it, as well as a link to starting up Teams itself. We've got 4 admins. We've got PowerShell. This takes us to that new PowerShell gallery, the module for Teams that was released. This is the same across all of these other tools. We'll go to Skype for Business. Same thing, a good little synopsis of Skype for Business, how to use it, and all the proper links for using it. What an incredible tool, not just for us as IT pros, but for the admins that are providing the day-to-day support and for the customers that are trying to figure out what their path and direction is. This might even be a great graphic when you're doing your initial engagements to sit down and say, let's take a look at what your requirements are. Let's see if we can match this up here. And then let's take a look in depth on how you're going to use these tools. Great job, Matt. Great job to all the people that are involved in the credits here. Super, super awesome tool. Okay, that's all I got. I feel like I have been yakking on for quite some time. Thank you all once again for taking the time to listen to me once again. I apologize for the break there, 2 weeks, a little bit much. You can cut me a little slack. It's December, right? You know the holidays are upon us, but we'll try to keep cranking these things out a little more regularly as we had been. I hope this was useful and helpful to you, and if it was, as always, please retweet it. Please share it on LinkedIn and other social media channels. And I look forward to having you guys back here for the next Teams recap. Thank you and adios.